Hello, and thank you for joining me for this IP Office training video. In this training video, we're going to take a look at IP Office Manager. To begin this video, we're going to start off by going into our Start menu and navigating to Manager. Now, I'm in Windows 10, so I'm just going to type in Manager and launch the application. In my case, the Manager application is set for running as administrator mode. I'm going to say yes, it can run. I'm running in version 10.0, so this is the general availability release of 10.0. Okay, now you're looking at Manager in Advanced View. Typically when IP Office launches Manager, it launches it in what we call Simplified View. Simplified View is the view that is default by IP Office when you install Manager. Now, typically this view is reserved for customers. Technicians generally will switch their view to Advanced View. This view is also used for the Partner Edition IP Office. When you're running IP Office in Partner Edition mode, this is the view you'll use, as well as when you're running IP Office in North Star mode, you'll use this view. The help file for this view is located here, and it actually allows you to view the IP Office Manager for Basic Edition, and it gives you the help file for the Basic Edition Manager. We're not going to cover that in this video, so I'm going to close that. If I wanted to create an offline configuration using this view, I could do that by clicking on the Offline Creation Wizard. I can choose what's the number of digits of my IP Office if I'm using a standard IP Office, or if I'm using a non-standard IP Office. For example, if I was using a Partner Edition or North Star Edition, I could choose those versions. With release 10.0, those versions are no longer available. So I'm going to choose Standard Edition, and I can choose the number of digits that I want to use for my extensions. The default is 3 digits. I'll leave it at 3 digits so that we can see what the default would look like, and I'll add some modules to my system. I'll start with a digital station card, a combo card, let's try that again, and a voice compression card. I'll use a 64-bit voice compression card, although it won't matter whether it was 32-bit or 64-bit in our small example. I'll also add a PRI card to my 8-port digital station card. So I have 1 PRI module and 4 analog lines as daughter cards on my base system cards. I can also add expansion modules to my IP500 V2. You'll notice that my IP500 V2 is listed. I'll choose to add a Digital Station 30B card. These are the newer Digital Station modules. I'll also add a Digital Station 30. This is an older version of the Digital Station 30. And I'll add one more card, which is called the Digital Station 30A. This is an RJ45, or not RJ45, but RJ21 connector. It's an Amphenol connector, and it's used to connect the Nortel or business set telephones, or business set telephones, the BSTs. I'll also add a phone 30 module just to add some analog devices, some additional analog devices, in addition to the 2 that I have on my combo card. And I'll add an ATM16 just so that we can see what an ATM16 looks like. So you can see I have 1 PRI, 4 analog trunks, and an additional 16 analog trunks. Okay, that's enough. I'm going to use this example to show Manager, so I'm going to click on OK. Since I chose to use a standard edition IP Office, I'm going to view the IP Office configuration in the Advanced View. Advanced View can be switched to by simply going up to View and changing it from Simplified View to Advanced View. You'll see that Simplified view is grayed out because I'm looking at a configuration, and the configuration can only be viewed in advanced view. If this were a partner edition or a North Star edition, then I'd definitely be able to switch over to simplified view. If I take a look at the way Manager's laid out in 3 panes. These window panes are the navigation pane, which I can see all the different items that I can edit within the system's configuration, including system all the way down to authorization code. When I click on an item in the navigation tree, for example, I'll click on users, you can see that there's a list of users that shows up in what we call the group pane. The group pane is the pane where I can sort through users and locate the user that I'm interested in looking at. So I can see all the different users in here. You'll see that the default users all come with an extension number and name beginning with 201. That's for the 3-digit extensions. It counts up through the extensions until the last port in the system. Once I select the user, the details of that user appear in the details pane. You can see that the details pane has multiple tabs. These tabs can be used to edit parameters on that specific user or item. So whether I'm editing a user or I'm editing a group, in this case the main hunt group, there's multiple tabs. I do all of my editing over in the details pane. So navigating through IP Office is fairly simple. You select the item in the navigation tree that you wish to go to. For example, incoming call routes. You select the incoming call route that you wish to navigate to, and you edit the details that are programmed on that particular route. You can hit OK once you're done with editing that particular setting. If you wanted to add new settings to this list, for example, if I wanted to add a new incoming call route, I can right click and hit New. This allows me to edit this, and I can specify a phone number that's coming in on this incoming call route, and I can specify a destination. So this is an example of adding a specific entry that's not there by default. Incoming call routes are for routing inbound calls to the system. These include DID calls, or direct inward dial numbered calls. So navigating with IP Office is all about selecting the navigation tree item, either adding or editing an item in the group pane, and doing that editing over in the details pane. If you're interested in knowing whether or not a mistake has been made, you can always ask the system to show the error list, and even ask the system to validate the configuration to verify whether or not there are any errors. You can see that there are a bunch of new errors. A lot of these errors come from the fact that I haven't set any passwords on any of the users. These errors are reflective only because I have password validation selected on the system. If I turn that setting off, which I'll show you how to do, I can go up here to System, and I'll go to the Voicemail tab, and within the Voicemail tab I'll turn off the enforcement of voicemail code complexity validation. So I'll say OK, and then if I validate my config one more time, a lot of those voicemail errors go away. Now I don't have a value set for the login code for any of my users, even though it wants me to set that. I can do that, or I can skip that. That's not necessary for all users. What it does allow me to do is it allows me to provide the user the ability to do hot desking. Once I give a user the ability to do hot desking, you'll notice one thing about their user, and it's really small here in this display. So I'm going to change my view just slightly. I'm going to actually hide my group pane, And you can now see that the little icon of the person has a little red desk next to him. That allows me to see that that user has a login code and is set up for hot desking. That's why it's a little red desk. Okay, so once I'm done making all of my changes to my IP Office configuration, I'll go ahead and put the group pane back in there, and I'll get rid of these errors by just hiding the error list. Although errors will still show up, I'm going to ignore them for right now. I'll show you in another video how to set your security parameters to do validation on login codes, passwords, and voicemail passwords. So these are the basics of the IP Office interface. You can see the toolbar contains several icons, including a save icon, and the ability for me to hide the different panes within the navigation window. If I hide the group pane and I also hide the navigation pane, I'll only see the details pane. The details pane can be navigated by simply using the navigation drop downs at the top of the screen. This can be useful when you are working on a computer screen that's very small and you need more real estate. So you can select the item in the navigation tree from the middle drop down. So I can go to incoming call routes, and I can choose the specific incoming call route based on the last navigation drop down. So I can choose which one I want. And that's it. Now to save changes, I would use the icon that looks like a little floppy disk, or I would go up to the File menu and choose Save Configuration. If I wanted to save the configuration offline, I could do a Save Configuration As, in which I get to name the configuration. I'll just do a Save Configuration since this is an offline configuration, and I'll go ahead and put that on my desktop just so I can find it a little bit later. It's going to ask me if I want to put a password to protect this file. In this case, I'm not going to put a password on the file. If you needed to secure the file, you can enter at least an 8-digit password to protect that file. And that's it. So that's the basics of IP Office Manager. I'm going to get into more details and more programming in other videos. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.